This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, and Steve Hall is with us today. Hey. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, email the show, I've got slurry, frank at absoluteradio.co.uk. That's where we are. Morning, Steve. It's been a while.
It's good to see you. Yeah, it's been a while.
You moved to Oxford, and I thought that's the end of him.
I'll still come back for you.
Oh, God bless you, Governor.
How lovely, Oxford.
Yeah. How is Oxford to live in?
It's absolutely lovely. It's not London, I'll be honest.
Has it got dreamy spires?
It does have.
Oh.
Yeah. It has punters. It's lovely.
Punters?
Frank loves punters.
It turns out the air can be fresh.
Steve finally got some punters.
It's the only way I could do it.
That's a verse. Oh, man. Well, it's lovely to have you on, I must say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll make you a tisane maybe later, if you're thirsty. Just testing him.
I should know what that is.
No, it's a herbal tea.
It's a herbal tea.
It's a general term.
Allegedly.
Look, we've checked this.
Has this been discussed on the show?
Yeah, I referred to it. I don't know where it came up. I think we was talking about making tea and stuff, and I said, what about if you was making a tisane? And I got quite a lot of blank stares.
He got a lot of scorn.
But
It sounds like someone's describing Alex Zane.
But, someone in Yorkshire talking about Alex Zane. Zane used to live round here. There used to be that story about Jane Fonda when she used to travel round doing her fitness classes. Saying to a bunch of women in Ilkley or something, right, everyone, hands on thighs, and they put their hands over their eyes. I don't think it was true.
I wish it was.
She was the queen of all that.
She's an absolute queen with a KW. I'm obsessed by the woman. She still is. She looks fabulous.
Emily was saying off air, I hope I'm all right to quote you on this, that her niece is about to be 21. And funnily enough, I was only talking last night about this. Why is 21 special?
Oh.
Yeah.
When I was 21, I remember I got a big silver key, and that used to be what you got when you were 21.
Can I ask a difficult question?
Yeah.
Was it plastic? Because a lot of these keys are.
Well, no, I think it was I don't think there's any idea I could use it on the house door. It was like a card. But when the cards that you got,
Had a big
you used to get a
plastic key.
box with a big silver key.
Can we discuss the presentation box?
Yes.
Because I never liked the presentation box because there was nothing in it. It was a hollow box.
And also, I have a problem, and forgive me, anyone who sent me these. When people send you a postcard for a birthday card, you have to find a leaning place for it.
So cheap.
You know, there's a reason that there's two parts to a birthday card. Independence, that's what that card is after.
Yeah.
I don't want to be leaning. And the key for my 20, I think I probably got 2 or 3 keys, these big silver keys. Do they still do them, I wonder? I have to say, part of the purpose of this show, Steve, I don't know if you remember a TV show called Adam and Lives. Have you ever heard of it?
I didn't see it at the time. I'm aware of it.
Of course he has. He knows the special effects person.
It's a Victorian gentleman who was accidentally buried in a block of ice and then comes out in the 60s and spends a lot of the series saying, do they still have a horse and chaise? And that's what I do on this show. And do people still get keys for their 21st?
8, 12, 15.
And what's special about being 21? Who picked that?
Well, I was telling you, both of you as well off air, that I was greatly relieved that my niece felt rather bad because she's a lovely girl, and she said she didn't want us. There's no easy way of saying this. She didn't want me and her dad at the party.
Oh.
And I think that's a great sign. If your kids want you at their 21st, ask yourself some deep questions.
Yeah, you don't. You could look through the window.
They don't want me there. I'm every woman.
Have a mock picture frame, and you can stand there like the couple from American Gothic.
Frank Skinner on
Radio.
I have an announcement to make.
Oh, okay.
Happy Flying Ant Friday we received
Right.
yesterday. I hope you had a good one. They descended onto South Wales around 5 p.m. yesterday, apparently.
5 p.m. That's late for the flying ants.
And they had a whale of a time. And then what I like...
Whales of a time.
What I like about Neil
Yeah.
is he's then said, "Here's to the next one!" exclamation mark.
Do you think sort of in the Caribbean, people on the coast of Grenada said we had loads, all the whales came in on Friday and gathered around the coast. They had an absolute ant of a time. I bet they don't.
It's people do Flying Ant Day has become associated with this show. I've got friends who will text me
Well,
when they
because
have Flying Ant Day connected to this show.
we're one of the few people who acknowledge that it actually exists, I think. Because, you know, I mentioned it. Are you aware of this, Steve? I mentioned it once on the Graham Norton show.
Is that how it first came up?
No, because neither Graham Norton or any of the Hollywood stars had ever heard of it.
He was on the show with, it was Marion Cotillard,
That's right, yeah.
and I believe the other was Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender, yeah. I think McAvoy might have been on as well.
I believe McAvoy was.
None
and
of
McAvoy
them.
was the biggest refusenik, wasn't
I
he?
mean, yeah. And also, as for Marion, did they not get it in France? Flying out
They
there?
just didn't. They thought you were in the pocket of big flying ant.
Yeah, and Norton hadn't heard of it.
How did they react? Were they a little...
Unless he was just joining in with the stars. Oh, yeah, no, I haven't heard of it either.
Whatever you say.
You made him sound a bit more Ian Paisley.
No, I did, yeah. I went a bit north. But, you know, they move about the ants. No, that's what happened. So then I started thinking I'd imagine the whole thing. So imagine, this is when people say this, imagine my response when the next time people started sending into the show, and I thought it does exist. But I didn't realise it was staggered. I thought there was one day across the British Isles. I didn't know there was, like they do South Wales one day.
We had it Thursday. We had Flying Ant Day. It was our little cat. Went mad for the ants. There was.
Oh, is it Mancunian, your little cat?
So Thursday in Oxford, we could chart their progress across the British Isles. There.
We haven't had ours yet in North London, Frank, have we?
I saw one.
That's not a day.
No, it's not a day. But I said, I can't remember who I was with, and I said, look, there's a flying ant on the floor. And I thought, well, any second now. The swarm, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Can I briefly share this from Adam Barrett? Mm-hmm. If you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. As the song goes, by Stephen Stills, although Frank credited it to James Taylor. So
Did
brief
I?
correzione from a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I really thought it was
But
James Taylor.
workshopping it in my head after hearing Frank talk about it, I thought it could be improved a little. Surely, because we talk about this sometimes, Steve, as you may know, the improving songs, don't we?
Yes, yeah.
Surely when a sentence is jumbled, to remake another sentence, you need to use all the words. So how about...
As in, nice to see you.
to see you not.
Yeah.
So how about if you can't be with the one you love, beloved the one you're with?
Beloved is very nice, yeah.
It works in my head, Adam continues, and it's not a massive change, but perfection is in the finer details. Don't you think? Bye for now, Adam.
It's true. It's never occurred to me they don't use all the words in their
That is true,
rearrangement.
We need to get in touch with Stephen Stills.
Yeah, or James Taylor, depending who's got that right. I really thought it was that. But you'll have checked this as well as knowing it. You know when you know something but you still check it? Like I was on the phone to another comedian, and I said I'm going to Zurich in a couple of weeks, and he said Zurich, and I don't know what he's he must have said, why are you going there? And I thought that's right, isn't it, Zurich? I thought, have I made that up? So I'm always in a sense of doubt.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've heard from 245 on the subject of turning 21 and the key to the door. 245 has said the keys were the best back in the days, but what the heck nowadays with cups? And they're absolutely correct. People now tend to get engraved chalices or goblets.
When they're 21. I blame Game of Thrones.
I blame Piers the Plowman.
Get a goblet. Wow.
Yes, a chalice is very medieval.
My wife's got one from when she turned 18, 21 and 30. So people running out of ideas. And they sit in a cupboard and you only use them when the washing up is really, really
You only use them when you have a banquet.
You only use them when the pardoner comes over.
Exactly.
From the Canterbury Tale. Why would you have a chalice?
But that's not just a 21 thing.
No, it's not
So
only
the
21.
the key has gone. The silver key in the box.
I think that has gone. Was the idea of that, was that as in you get the key to your own house, or is it, here's a key, now your parents want you to get your own place?
I think maybe it's to do with your parents giving you a key so that you can stay out late because you're 21.
So it's actually...
I think
right,
so.
it's for your own house.
I think so, although everyone was married at that age then.
But most parents now would be, here's a key to any other house, please sling your hook at the first opportunity.
Well, not in London. Now you're in Oxford, do you think people can afford to buy their own houses, Steve?
We're renting.
Stick around.
We could not afford to buy in Oxford.
What about Spud-shaped man who says...
Sad little moment of Steve's private life.
I liked it because it was quite... Yeah, I liked it.
It's all gone a bit rising down.
Gab Heaton, call me boring, but I feel the same about almost any milestone birthday. I turned 40 this year and I didn't really do anything special. My friends said, but you're only 40 once. My reply was, but you're only 39 once, only 41 once. What's your point? Bit of a friend for you, Frank, maybe.
And also the definition of once is complicated. You're 40 for a year. That's a lot of onces, isn't it? Yeah, why do it on the actual day? Just you can. I'll do it. Let's get into it first. See how it feels.
Yeah. What's Steve been up to, by the way?
Well, since I last, I was trying to have done. It's
been a while.
It has been a while. I've been on Netflix. That's a novelty to me. I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah.
Russell Howard had a special out, and in an act of quite charming arrogance, they decided to put a documentary for the making of that special. And so I crop up in it in a few occasions.
Oh, Steve, Frank, we have to watch
check it out now.
But they've edited it, so it's an enjoyable watch.
Right.
But they've edited out some of my favourite bits. Inevitably, like there's some thornier
it's not about
bits.
you, Steve.
No, not about me.
Oh, okay.
That would be the height of arrogance and self-delusion to think, why is there not more of that?
But it's also been a height of honesty, I would say.
There's a gig they did in we did in Cardiff. We'd played an arena in Cardiff, and it had been a really tricky gig. And Russell had a mini meltdown on stage because this bloke was repeatedly heckling, and he wanted to get up on stage to propose to his wife, but he was incredibly drunk. And it was trying to do a nicer bit in the show. So there'd been a mini meltdown, and then Jason Dawson, who you've worked with, lovely producer, lovely man. He said, "We know that Russell's in a bad mood. We know he's going. As soon as the gig's finished, he's going to go straight to the car, and he's not going to stop. So we're not going to get the chance to get any visuals. So will you wear a wire? Will you?
Wow!
Can we put a mic on you? And at least
Who was that bloke who used to do the TV? Donal McIntyre. Remember that? Yeah. He used to expose things like the fact that supermodels do cocaine. Don't say Donal. Wow, who would have thought that?
He did an expose of a fashion magazine. He said, I'm going to set up my own fake magazine. And he met them. And I couldn't believe he got away with it because he said, what's the magazine called? He went, it's called Polka Dot Magazine.
Oh, that one. Yeah, catch it while you can. Is it still going, Polka Dot? No, sad.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
As Frank likes the Beloved You're One, You're With lyric improvement, I was wondering if he's ever noticed the incongruous Middle English line buried in Diana Ross's Upside Down. Oh, yes, I have. I'll share it with you now, Frank.
Upside down.
respectfully, I say to thee, is one of my favourite ever lines from a pop song. But sadly, it never developed into a larger medieval disco genre. That's from Tony. I would like to know if anyone else has any medieval lyrics
There
and
must
songs.
be some other of these, because it's
I love a medieval lyric.
it's a helpful rhyme to be able to drop in a thee.
Yeah, it's always good.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's going to nag at me now.
What is?
Other these.
Well, it's not
So-
just even any oldie language
Yeah.
I enjoy in a song.
Yes.
I feel like the Kaiser. I think there's a "thee" in a Kaiser Chiefs song, and I'm struggling to remember.
You're going to have to do a bit better than that, Steve.
And I think
the old
I predict to
powers.
Riot there is a thee. I
Is
think
there?
you'll find, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I predict a diet. That's what they, you know when they do those things on the news about the national obesity crisis. That's what they should have. I predict a diet running underneath it. You know that things like everything used to have. Let me entertain you running under it. Anyway, we're talking about Steve.
So I was offered to wear a wire. They came up and they
To
said
secretly
record Russell Howard's audio, which has
Wow.
taken a big gamble, given that the gig had been unpleasant enough that who knows what could have been said.
Yeah.
So they really nervously came up to me and said, "Would you mind secretly recording?" And I instantly, yes.
Yeah.
And Russell didn't notice that my jacket was mysteriously zipped up all the way to the top.
Steve, I've got to come in. I'm Team Russell here at the moment.
Well, I was leaning in at a 45-degree angle, kind of going, leaning up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How do you think that went? Like the least realistic
Wow.
questions. And of course, it was unusable because he was just really gutted.
Yeah.
That it had been the gig had not been so pleasant. But
Did he have? He would have had to say whether it was used or not.
Yeah,
so you weren't betraying.
Oh, no,
him.
exactly.
No.
Yeah. Well, at the hotel later on, once they'd told him, and once I'd had all my elaborate FBI recording equipment taken off of me, he just came up and just said, "Rat."
See, you're
Fair
quite a
enough,
hairy man, Steve. I would be worried about the amount of gaffer tape being used on you.
There was a certain amount of rippage.
Yeah, there must have been some patches after.
I think you got off lightly with Rat.
I mean, how would you feel if I was recording this?
Well, he warned me. He said he controlled the edit. So in the
Yes.
end, in the final edit, there's another bit of me where I have to. There was a gig we did where his support act. I was emceeing, and his support act was James Bay, the singer. It was a little surprise
Oh, yeah.
for the people
With
Hang
who
on,
felt
is he
around.
hold back the river?
With or
that's
without,
it, yeah.
without the hat?
With hat.
Oh, because I've noticed just lately the hat. I don't know if he's mislaid the hat or if he's had a stylist conversation about the hat. But the last time I saw him, he was sans hat.
That's a bold move for him.
Once you commit, I saw him
It's
at
like
the Brits.
Bob Down without the safari suit.
Yeah, that's unthinkable. I saw him at the Brits duetting with Bieber. I remember James Bay. He was very hat then. I think they both sheltered in its shade. That's how intimate they were. That Bieber himself got some brim coverage. It was lovely. Oh well, we'll come back to. I love a Bay anecdote.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We were talking about me emceeing James Bay.
Yes, Baywatch here on Absolute Radio.
Hold back the river.
We did this gig at the Clapham Grand, and it was during the COVID restrictions. So the only thing I'd been told to do.
He should have wore a beekeeper's hat. Or use his usual black hat, but just have it curtained.
Well, he was incredibly nervous. It was his first gig because of all the lockdowns. He hadn't done a gig in well over a year. And the one thing I'd been told that I had to say to the audience in terms of to comply with the regulations was they were not allowed to sing along. They were absolutely not allowed to sing along. And it was the one thing I forgot to say.
Right.
So I'd done what I thought was a reasonably good job introducing him, and it was a little surprise. The audience had no idea it was going to be him. So it was a real lovely atmosphere when you get to tell them that it's him and they all go wild. And then I had to really embarrassingly come back on because the gig wasn't allowed to happen unless I'd said so. I had to then come back out and say, I'm really sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I've got sorry James, literally as he's strumming his first chords, to say, you're allowed to cheer, you're allowed to whoop, you're allowed to scream, but you're not allowed to sing along.
That doesn't make sense, does it? Whooping and screaming.
It did seem a bit daft.
I mean, it might if it had been a Proclaimers gig. That would have been an impossible ask, isn't it? You can't sing along. Oh, man.
But it became Russell Howard's Revenge that in the final edit of it, that bit is in the documentary, but I said something funny at the end. I'd got to a point. I'd
did
sort of
you?
owned
Well,
it,
we'll be the judge of that.
Well,
Get Netflix on that screen.
That's the heartbreaking thing. He's edited out the last two sentences. So I just look incompetent, which is a look I've carried off with some success for a long time. But I'd rescued it with the final bit.
I'm glad you've put that right here today. So anyone who's been thinking, what I can't think of a clean version. What a thingy Steve is. It was the ending.
That's it, but it was Russell's revenge for me wearing a wire.
What was the joke? What was the joke you did at the end? Let's really clear this up.
It was more acted out in the moment about pointing out the irony.
There was no joke.
It was what we call speed, not sense.
Oh, okay.
It was Russell's revenge. Russell said snitches get stitched up. That was his.
I would have got a rhyme out of that if I'd have been him, but I'm older, I'm more poetic.
I think the phrase is snitches get stitches, isn't it?
That was his play.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what did Frank... what I liked, Frank, is when you were interrogating Steve about the joke, it went very Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men. Okay? That was the energy.
I don't know if we want to leave that phrase, Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men, just hanging there, do we?
Oh, for goodness sake, Frank.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is the Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, and Steve Hall is with us this morning, all the way from Oxford. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. Did we ever find out what the 21 thing was about?
We have had a number of people getting in touch about the 21 thing, but I mean, there's all sorts of theories. Have you seen any, Steve? I've seen a few knocking around.
There's various theories. 532 just says voting, alcohol, etc. But he said 21 became 18.
Okay.
That's why the song...
That's why the key stopped.
Yeah.
But it didn't switch to 18. So alcohol in England used to be 21, did it?
I was unaware of that. But.
Gosh, that's not how I remember it.
We were also talking, we also have running this morning, favourite bits of the oldie language in song lyrics.
Oh, yes.
This was inspired by somebody getting in touch referring to Diana Ross.
Yes.
Dropping, respectfully I say
opposite.
to thee, in Upside Down.
Upside Down, right.
So we've got some fabulous examples. Alex has got in touch. Marillion's use of dilly dilly is pretty spectacular.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that.
Oh, Lavender's Blue dilly dilly.
Yeah, and I know the original.
A few people have confirmed Emily was right. It was indeed I Predict a Riot.
Thank you.
It's not very pretty, I tell thee.
Oh, okay.
Then we have TC. Anything by Simon and Thou Art Garfunkel.
Right.
Which I think is true. They're very medieval.
Do they? Give me a par example.
Well, the Are You Going to Rose to Scarborough Fair?
Yeah, but that is an old... they nicked that from Martin Carthy. Do you know that? Martin Carthy, the English folk singer, rearranged that song and put the two together. Promise to buy me a cap and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they saw him doing it at a folk club and thought, I'm having that. What about that?
Then we also have, and this might be one of my favourites, Martika, Love Thy Will Be Done. Yeah, that's another thy. Okay. And then, go on, what were you going to say?
Scroobius Pip and Dan Lassac song, Thou Shalt Always Kill. has been mentioned.
Oh, I don't know that.
Apparently it's got lines like "Thou shalt not judge Lethal Weapon" with Danny Glover.
But I think Jimmy this is possibly my favourite. Led Zeppelin, Gallows Pole. I think I see brother coming, riding many a mile. Come on.
Yes,
I feel you're slightly resistant to medieval song lyrics. Why is this?
I know it isn't that. Since we've mentioned Paul Simon, I keep thinking of his white cap that he wore for many years. And I was recently watching a band on the telly, and one of them, I think they were called Volbeat, the Volbeats.
Okay, yeah.
And the guitarist had got a cap, and I thought, he's probably a lovely bloke. I've really taken against him. And now the flat cap, and I grew up in a world of flat caps in the West Midlands, but now when I see celebrities in a flat cap,
yes,
I really take agin them.
Oh, do you?
It's used very much as a disguise by celebrities that don't get recognised.
Is that Guy Ritchie? Is that Guy Ritchie's fault? I feel like he started putting a lot of...
He had one of those with a button in the middle, a slightly flared flat
we are
cap.
Huge GOS fans, aren't we, Frank?
Gilbert O'Sullivan. Yeah, but that was a stage cap. Yeah, that was a stage cap initially, though.
Oh, I see. So your objection to the cap is IRL?
No, but when I say a stage cap, it was part of a uniform he wore as a sort of Victorian schoolboy, which didn't last for long before he went for cardigans and a more bouffant hair. It's that thing. I'm not happy with the flat cap on celebrities.
Oh, okay. I know. So how do you find them on women? Fergie, for example, the Black Eyed Peas favours one.
Okay.
She used to back in the day. With a white
women,
vest.
all bets are off on the clothing. It's like,
clothes are off in some cases.
It's like with the denim jeans, man over 50, no thank you. Women can wear them till they're 100.
What about guys?
We need to make James Bay hats mandatory for all performers.
Yeah, I'm not sure about people who take on a hat. This might be because I have a terrible sort of global cranium head and I can't get a hat that fits me. But I don't like the moment of decision of, you know what? I think I might start wearing a hat. I think people might think of me a bit differently. They will, but not the way you want, dear.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So I nearly said this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio then. I'm going to be honest with you. That's how out of touch.
We've had a couple of... we've obviously been discussing medieval song lyrics, but we've had a few comments have said, how have you not mentioned the Lionesses yet?
Yes, well, it was yes, we haven't mentioned the Lionesses. It was brilliant.
Well, I've been wanting to know your reaction. I mean, I've been waiting for, how long is it? 26 years, since 1996. As a question, I've waited to say these words to you. Why the hell do you watch Doctor Who? In addition to that...
Well, you have said that.
I know. In addition to that, I've wanted to hear your reaction to the news that footballers come home. Frank Skinner.
Well, it was good. The final was good, but the final was, for me, it was like that bit in the middle. The first game was, all right, and the final, it was brilliant. We won, but in the middle was... I've only ever seen England football team playing like that in my dreams. I mean, like goals going in from all directions, 40-yard passes to players in space, I think you'd be dropped by Gareth if you hit a 40-yard pass because the risk of losing possession, it's unforgivable even if the goal goes in. The back heel from Rossa and all that, there's no getting round. It's hard to talk about it without sounding like a bloke who's trying to show he takes it seriously. But I didn't take it seriously. I just loved it. There was no taking serious. Who takes football seriously? Don't answer that. It was just really, really, really enjoyable, the whole experience of it. People got absolutely walloped teams.
What about the Norwegians? They're still reeling.
But there was games when I just saw every attack now that it's going to be a goal.
Did you go into the game against... Did you go into the game against them feeling optimistic?
What, the Deutsch? Oh, by then I thought we were...
Did you?
Unbeatable.
What about...
I really did.
When... my highlights... You're getting them anyway. Number one, the tiny football car, obviously.
Oh, yes. They've overused that a bit. They use it for the shot put and stuff in the...
They should just keep it for the big ones.
Yeah.
And my suggestion, which I've shared before, tiny dog for the halftime entertainment. I know a dog who would fit in that car. Can you imagine? No reference to it, no one mentions it, just at the wheel, sat there impassively.
Maybe that would be how they could give people the key on their 21st birthday.
I think it should be brought out being cradled by a mandrill. Quite frightening apes. And just, with the purple face, purple bomb.
Yeah.
That's my motto. One of those coming out. And it could be, it could be on some sort of a protective harness.
A different animal every time.
Yeah, different wild animal, yeah.
But I tell you what, Frank, your song and Uncle David's song and Uncle Ian's, that got a lot of airtime, didn't it? Especially by the ladies.
The very first thing played at the final whistle.
Oh, come on.
I'll tell you what, the clip that's been around a lot is the press conference.
Yes.
So Serena's doing her talk and then they come in singing It's Coming. First of all, the brilliant thing about that is that the men's team, should they win a trophy, will never do that because they dance. You know that dance like there's no one watching thing they say? They just look so... The men would have to phone their agents and ask about sort of the potential brand damage of dancing with true abandon like that. But they just look like a bunch of girls on a night out. Who cares? It was
Hen Night and Magaluf.
They're so perfectly choreographed as that when they dance in. You can't imagine Harry Maguire doing that dance.
Also, guys, how often do you see someone genuinely get on a desk and dance? I mean, it only happens in 9 to 5, the musical.
Coyote Ugly.
I worried a little bit about her getting on the desk.
Why?
Because those desks, they look a bit like Boris Johnson's lectern. I thought if she goes through that now, that's spoilt the joke.
Well, Serena did say, which I enjoyed, because she was very proper. She did. What about Serena went, oh, Mary.
She clapped along though. Oh, there's something that I want to talk.
Okay, let's hang on.
I want to talk to you about the postscript to that moment, but after this.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So at the end of the Lionesses rendition of 3 lines at the press conference, which we all agree was really a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with my song, just people, an England football team celebrating victory. Anyway, one of the journalist who's mid-question says to Serena, the boss, she says, are you cross with them because it's banned, isn't it, that song?
Did they say that?
Yeah, and she said... She says, it's an English cultural thing, isn't it? We won the cup, but I think its home is in Switzerland at UEFA. That's what she actually said. Now, clearly the FA have said, because the FA, there's been all sorts of stuff that the FA think the song's a bit jingoistic.
Right.
Because it says stuff like England.
Well, like Rule Britannia.
But I would say it's the opposite. It's the idea that it's the home of football.
But it's saying we never win anything.
Yeah, it's the home thing I think they have the problem with because, it's sort of based on the fact that the first ever football league, the first ever football association, the first ever cup all happened in England. It's not suggesting any superiority. But, anyway, I think it's coming a bit much from the FA, who were called... the Football Association. Everyone else is called like the Scottish Football Association. It was only formed a few years after that. They should be called the English Football Association. Otherwise, it's incredibly arrogant to call yourself the
Suggesting
Football
you
Association.
invented it.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost just because they were first, they think they get to call it the football. So I think that we should start a campaign for the FA to be called the EFA from now on.
I do.
Yeah,
And just acknowledge that we're all part of one big family in football. There is no.
But also, can't any
Granddaddy.
nation have that opinion? It's an opinion, essentially. So Brazil could say it's coming home. That's all right.
I
They could
also
say
think
they're the spiritual
they
home of
should
football.
adopt the slogan "slightly out of touch since 1863."
Well, that's because it's the least jingoistic. That's exactly like you said, Emily. It's acknowledging all the hurt.
It's
I'm
acknowledging
angry on
the
your behalf,
rubbishness of.
Yeah.
I mean, the home thing is just a historical thing. That's all.
I saw. Were you involved with the rewrite? I saw David and Ian Broody performing it.
Broody.
I thought it was Brody.
I've never known. I
Is it
took a
Brody?
gamble.
No, I wasn't.
All right, Paul Merson.
I wasn't involved with that. But yeah, they sang it with some of the old Lionesses
Yes.
were at the thing.
Yes.
It was good.
I like the old
just-
Lionesses.
I was going to do it and then I couldn't do it, but it was it was. You know what? It's so difficult to talk about it without sounding like you're trying to say, oh, I'm like. But I just loved it. It was just really enjoyable, and we won, and that was that. So I don't think there's any more to say about it.
Oh,
there
excuse
is,
me,
of
isn't
course.
there? Can we discuss the note?
Oh, yes, the note. We should definitely discuss that. Okay, but we'll discuss the note. Or should we call it the note? The note? You read the note? Sorry, I don't know if you can do that. Can you still? I think that's one of the accents you can still do.
I'll check with the FA.
Yeah, I've got the absolute brochure
Okay.
here of accents that you can't catch. It's a slim volume.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
What about Vicky? Flying ants equals flants. This needs to be a thing, Vicky.
I'm not sure about flats.
Flants. It makes them sound a bit cakey.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll consider that, Vicky. I don't think it's something we should rush into.
Okay.
We were just.
Whereas the EFA, I'm very keen that it happens tomorrow. just so they have to spend a lot of money on notepaper and compliment slips.
And
Would
what
it be-
about the ties? They like a ceremonial tie.
Oh yeah, a blazer badge.
A blazer
you go
badge on a
with-
John Lewis suit.
Would you go with? What would it be? EFA or EFA or just EFA? What?
I suppose they'd start getting called EFA, wouldn't they? Like
Yeah.
FIFA and UEFA.
On the subject of the "It's Coming Home" controversy, Steve Hall made a very good point off air.
We were discussing off it. My understanding was that it was originally the phrase "It's coming home" was coined by the FA.
Well, they had banners all round Wembley for Euro '96, which says "Football comes home." That was their
Hang
slogan.
on, so the EFA, yes, I'm there already.
Yeah.
The EFA,
EFA.
came up with "It's Coming Home," or "Football's Come Home."
They come up with "Football comes home."
Oh, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a silly thing to be arguing about. Anyway,
Can we
like
discuss?
I say, the rules were drawn up in England. The first football league was in England. The first football association was in England. I think the first cup. It's an admin, but they want us to put admin in brackets. Football's coming home.
Yes.
Admin rather than spiritual.
Can I tell you what I like though is that when they were, I suppose, out of that formal setting, when the Lionesses were at their most I suppose allowing their souls to sing at their most open. They were unfettered by the formality of the event, and they were, let's face it, very drunk.
Do you think the Greek women's team is ever unfettered?
Oh, lovely, lovely, Frank. And
I bet they aren't.
They chose to sing your song.
Well, they sang other songs, but I bet no one ever says to Neil Diamond, "Sweet Caroline." It's a bit patronising, isn't it? I mean, God, just relax. Songs.
Well, there was that when Chloe Kelly eventually sang Vindaloo very briefly on Instagram, but it was quite satisfying. It was quite a while later.
Yeah, she was.
Don't mention that one, Steve.
Anyway, we should keep talking about my song.
Well, we can't because the note.
The note. Yes. Yes. So Alicia Russo, who got the goal of the tournament.
Oh, she really did.
There was a bit where. Now, this is a bit. I'm not sure about this. It's a relatively modern phenomenon. Is the game? Is the manager writing down their thoughts? The notebook is quite a new thing, and no one loves a notebook more than me. They write stuff, but usually then they pass it on to a player. This is the first time, and it's in a European final, I've actually seen, and people might have seen it, but me personally, I've never seen a player come on with the actual note ripped out the notepad before. That was a new one on me. But, it's what happened next that we're going to discuss.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Yeah, so the German manager sent on a note with one of the players. There wasn't long to go in the game, and it was... and Alicia Russo went and looked over her shoulder. I mean, I'm assuming it was in German, but it might have just been like a diagram or...
We know what it is now.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
Russo is revealed. Because, she brought it on and she craned her neck in the most fabulous way, didn't she?
Well, it was very blatant.
It was blatant.
Yeah.
She subsequently revealed that... She said it was tactics, but there was nothing written because people were saying, "Does she understand German?" What was
So it was just
looking at that? She said it was a series of X's and O's,
like the chalkboard.
or maybe it was a nice "love you." It was
Well,
just a nice X crosses and cuddles.
See, I would not have done that, I must say, because I'd be afraid that it would be something unkind about me.
Yeah.
So, or the team in generally. So I wouldn't have done it. I never want to know with those things.
It was like she was our own. She'd cracked the Enigma code.
Yes.
She was like Bletchley Park for one moment.
If only it had been that easy, Bletchley Park, just have to look over someone's shoulder.
I have seen it once before. There's a great clip of Sheffield Wednesday against Huddersfield. And someone carries on physically holding a note, and a Sheffield Wednesday player just grabs it out of the bloke's hand.
Oh, really? Oh, that's rude rather than funny.
What are the rules concerning these notes? I mean, surely...
I don't know if you can go on carrying false gap onto the pitch.
There should be a disciplinary...
I don't think you should be carrying bits of paper.
Whatever next?
Someone could get a paper cut in a challenge.
Well, keepers have had... instructions for penalties on their water bottles, haven't they? If it goes to a penalty shootout, they've got which direction people send.
I'll tell you what, I'm trying to work out whether to say this person's name. A well-known comedian told me that he had a meeting with his publicist and was moaning about the fact that publicity hadn't been very good for this show, and he said as he left the room, he looked down and he saw written on this guy's notepad, "Try harder." I mean, there's something tragic and comic about that to say. It's both masks simultaneously. And I was with a female friend of mine, and she went to the toilet and left her phone, and an alarm suddenly went off and said folic acid. And I thought, time for a baby. I'm probably not supposed to know. So there is. I'm not much of a eavesdropper, but you can be a good. What about for a texting? Most exciting or interesting thing you've read over someone's shoulder?
I like. Well, or you can do the intentionally, because I do that sometimes. The artful. I know someone's going to look at this. So, for example, do you remember, Frank? There was a brief period when I took a screenshot of George Lamb calling me. I intentionally didn't get the phone.
Okay.
So that it would say George Lamb missed call.
Oh, okay.
And then I kept that as my screensaver. So that if I went to the loo, or people would think, oh, George Lamb missed call, she didn't even answer. Kept that for 4 years.
I worked with a guy on this TV show, and we were moaning that he was giving more time to the barbecue that we had at lunchtime, which he was doing outside, than he was to the actual show. And we had a meeting. It was sort of slightly light-hearted, but we were saying, get someone more minor to do the barbecue. Anyway, as I looked at his notepad, and he'd written Cajun ?
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Steve Hall. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
We were talking earlier.
I got a letter to my house this week that just said Frank Skinner Hampstead. It was delivered.
The fact that it got there, do you know what? That says a lot for your celebrity respect.
Well, apparently George Bernard Shaw got an envelope delivered to him that was just a caricature of him.
Wow.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Did you open it, or would you be?
No, I
You were happy to. I'd be terrified.
Oh, well, I see what you mean. Yeah. No,
I would have got staff to do that if I had staff, which I don't.
No, it was all right.
John Hopkins. Remember him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but normally when we mention him, Frank,
I go Hopkins.
yeah, he's one of our regulars. We were talking about Notegate
Yes.
and my George Lamb missed call intentionally placed there for snoopers. John Hopkins has a story related to this. Years ago, I was sat on the raised seat at the back of a bus when the woman in front of me got a text message which read, "Julie, I'm really sorry, but I've accidentally set fire to your lounge carpet. We'll talk about it later, James, kiss." I have been obsessed by this ever since.
Oh, Julia, if you're listening, or James,
Yeah.
please tell us what happened to the lounge carpet.
Also, I mean, I would have been shocked at the use of lounge, but that's another story.
I like it.
I was told never to use it, but what can I do? Ali Little.
Yeah.
Someone writing about their current train journey and how they described me based on the book I was reading, but she described me as bald. I have significant thinning, but I still have hair. Rude.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I was on a train once with Emily, and there was a couple, an old couple with like their son who was probably about 50 with them, and Emily emailed me a picture from Sorry, that Ronnie Corbett sitcom, which was exactly that lineup.
It was a screen grab, that's all I texted him, and we started laughing so hard.
Oh man, and I don't often lose it on the laughing front, but that was really stupendous.
Well, we all love Leeds. Oh, hello.
I said one of your doggy friends.
They don't love Leeds.
No.
Dogs don't.
Don't forget, by the way, this morning's texting, cat leads, why so rare? 8:12:15.
Well, maybe David Baddiel, our close mutual friend, can.
I wonder if he's got, I think, 4
That was
cats.
the follow-up for the Dickens follow-up sequel. Our close
I don't think
mutual
he's got a
friend.
lead in the house.
He posts some great cat content, though. But he's selling me on cats, I've got to be honest.
Yeah.
Why don't cats, and David will know the answer to this, but why aren't they sort of socialised? Why can they never be seen in the outside world? Why are they kept away at home like Rochester's wife? It's cruel.
Are you planning a spin-off podcast?
They do.
I
They
think
do.
David
The cat,
is.
it just ends up in horrendous violence after 30 seconds.
Is it still it used to be a legal term that if a dog was in your garden, you could, whatever, call the police, or I think you were allowed to hit it with a stick or something.
What's happened? It's a very nice show.
I'm going back a bit.
Quite a dark whatever happened to you.
Maybe you couldn't hit it, but you could get the owners into trouble. But cats, and this was always quoted, had roving commission. People always used to say, "Oh, you can't do anything about a cat because they've got roving commission." No, is that a legal term? It was very much spouted as if it was like habeas corpus, you know what I mean? Like something that would come up in a courtroom. If there's any legal people out there,
or agents who operate with a roving commission policy.
So I would love to know about the cat and the roving commission. Basically, I'm asking about the cat clause.
Can I just say,
I don't talk over that. Too late now, you've damaged it. That'll never be. That's unmendable. Straight in the bin. What are you going to say?
Well, no, it's too late now.
Oh, too late for you. What about cat claws?
Can I tell you this, Frank? David Baddiel is typing, and I've got the 3 dots.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Let's hope it's good.
Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I've heard from
It all makes sense.
David Baddiel's 3 dots.
Okay.
Three dots on a text.
Yes. David Baddiel's 3 dots on a text. He's said he's answered the cat's question.
Yeah.
I asked why a cat's locked away like Rochester's wife.
Yeah.
He's replied, I was leading the witness a bit, I appreciate it. He said,
Rochester's wife, who also had lounge carpet problems.
Sorry, it's very unprofessional. It's because cats are hyper-territorial. So
I thought he was going to say allergenic. They definitely are. I have been round Dave's house with a sore throat, eyes streaming.
Oh, yeah. Why was that?
Did
he cook that goose curry again?
It's the cats.
Oh,
cats. They're nice cats, but you know.
So don't like going far from their houses. I love that.
What about this? What a waste of roving commission. You get a lord to look after you and then you squander it by just lying around the house.
And he's still thrilled about this.
How do you feel when you get the 3 dots?
From David B?
No, from anyone, and then it goes away.
Oh,
That's a horrible feeling. You think the 3 dots, what they're going to say? What? Oh.
I've heard tell of people who've had a communication, they've texted an ex or something.
Yeah.
And seen the 3 dots and then never heard from them again.
Oh,
come on.
No.
So they thought, I'll reply. Oh, no, I won't.
What?
Imagine the last thing you heard.
I'm
going to
write a novel just about that 3 or 4 seconds of that person's 3 dots. What could have happened? What might have been?
What were they going to say?
The arrow, the string is actually drawn back on the bow.
Yeah.
And then it's relaxed again. The arrow is never released.
You see, David Baddiel, I know this is what I like about him, I'm always going to get some content. He's not a 3-dotter disappearer.
I'm trying to think if he's ever 3-dotted me.
He's not
I think
tricky.
he might. I think he might have.
No, he's not a tricky type. You know, these tricky ones where you think certain types are very 3 dots disappearers.
By a BTW, I did archery.
Wow.
I did archery recently and learned something about archery I never knew. Is that the Mr. Archery Man?
I'm interested to know what the.
So he watched me firing my arrows, and then he went up to the top. He went up to the top. I know that. Yeah, I mean,
he's hardly an elite company.
I should have drawn the curtain. It's my own fault.
How exclusive is that club?
But anyway. I released a few arrows, and then he went up to the target, and he put a white marker on the target, and he said, "Aim at that."
Oh.
So I aimed at the marker, and then got really close to the bullseye. And he said, "Everybody's got a bit of they aim a bit to the left or a bit to the right."
Did you say?
I said, "No wonder in these shorts." I said to him. But so people who are really good at archery aren't actually aiming at what they're hitting. There's something weird about that.
Yeah.
It's like me ending up on radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Now, I was hoping to discuss the wonderful Rosalba Mensah.
Oh, yes.
She went viral this week.
What a woman.
Went viral she did the splits and went viral. She was celebrating her graduation from the London College of Fashion. She'd studied costume design for performance. And she celebrated in a really wonderful way.
Well, she came out and did a little bit of a dance, a la the Lionesses, really, a very sort of carefree, I'm just, messing about.
Yeah.
And then, now, to me, the splits, I think, to every man is a wondrous and terrifying thing. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, because, I know men can do it. I've seen a few men do it in the Commonwealth Games gymnastics.
And the Bolshoi.
But the thought of it is, I think he did.
Oh, God.
Anyway, now, if you go into a gradual splits, the one when you gradually slide down, there's a sort of negotiation with gravity about where you will come to a point of agreement where this far and no further. If you do what I would call the drop splits, which is what Rosalba did, you've absolutely given all authority to gravity.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, they're saying, you just do with me what you will. And she absolutely went for, she really dropped into a full splits on stage. And whoa, that was commitment.
Yeah,
it's magnificent, and it's fitting because she's having studied costume design for performance. She's nailed the performance, and thankfully the costume design helps her.
Well, I'd have thought that costume design for graduation, the headstand would be the obvious
I don't think that's a good idea.
But a mortarboard is begging for a headstand, isn't it? You got a proper base.
I don't like people doing the splits, I'm afraid. It doesn't sit well with me. It just makes me feel a bit funny.
Is that the arrogance of youth? Or?
No. It's just the physicals of it makes me feel a bit funny.
No, it's frightening to watch, but exhilarating.
Yeah. Oh.
She only got a 2-1. If she got her first, goodness knows what she would have done.
I don't want to think about that.
No, exactly.
Well, it's great that she won over the internet, given that the internet is a notoriously cynical place, and people just loved it. People were delighted that she does it with such charm that often some of these graduation things, when you celebrate slightly like that, it can be a bit Tom Cruise with Katie Holmes on Oprah.
Isn't it funny? Why did Tom Cruise jump in on Oprah's sofa? Why was that terrible? And Rosalba doing a drop splits was great.
He didn't do the splits.
No.
You see, if Tom did the splits, I wouldn't mind. If Tom did anything, as you know, Frank, I just can't quit that man. Unfortunate choice of her, but anyway.
I just kind of think that, with the Lionesses doing that dance, it just sort of happened. But with Tom Cruise, you get the feeling he might have got a choreographer in just for a couple of sessions to get the sofa jumping right.
Yes, if anything looks sort of cynical or prearranged, we don't like it. I would say what I particularly liked about Rosalba was the response from the university faculty. Mm-hmm. They were whooping and cheering approvingly.
Yes.
Can I say that would not have happened in my day? They did not tolerate that in the 16th century.
Well,
and I had my vice-chancellor, I believe it was Sir Richard Attenborough at the time.
Wow.
He would not... he would have liked that, actually. I think, wouldn't he? Dickie. Dickie was a tolerant soul.
I think so, yeah.
But I just think there are certain... What would you have done at your university? Steve went to one of the posh ones, Frank, just FYI.
Well, I made such a mess of my degree. I'd have had to have done like the opposite of a celebration. I'd have had to apologise and shield my face.
Harry Carey is what you would have needed to have done. I received what I like to call my first degree.
Oh, lovely.
From the head of the gas board. It's probably one of the most Birmingham things that ever happened.
Was it Boiler Man?
I don't remember what his name was, funnily enough.
What's everything in Birmingham related to the gas board or Boiler Man?
I don't know how he would have gone with the splits. He might have put a bit of gaffer tape around me and got his welding materials. So yeah, it wasn't that kind of. It was much more industrial.
Richard Attenborough, the head of the gas board.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
And we've had a message. Thank you so much for playing our single, Karl Lagerfeld's Vampire Club. That felt massive.
Oh, that's brilliant.
From the Harlem Racket crew, Dean, David and Gab, we salute you.
Oh, that's great.
We've also heard from Richard Jackson on the subject of footballers being given notes. He said this has to be included. There's a Stoke midfielder called Badu Ndiaye who ate the paper. He'd been given note.
I reckon he was a Secret Service man of old.
And so there's a little photo that he sent with the tweet of him wolfing down.
That's strange, unless it was on rice paper, of course.
Oh, yeah.
That makes it all right.
I can't remember if we read this out on air. I'm just going to be full disclosure here.
It's all right.
That was the title of Andrew Neil's autobiography.
Full disclosure, was it, really?
Why do people give a key on the 21st birthday? Did you read this, Steve? From Mike? I'm sorry, I'm
just
showing
read
the
it
innards.
again. It's
okay.
fine. People
Don't shout
repeat
at me,
themselves
guys,
all the
if we
time.
did it. Key pendants are given as a present on the 21st birthday. The tradition dates from the times when at 21 you were considered old enough to be a key holder. Did we read that?
No, we didn't read that.
Oh, good. When you were considered old enough to be a key holder to your family's home and thus held a symbolic senior position in the family. Did you
Nice.
have a key to your family's home, Frank?
Yeah, eventually, yeah. I don't know if it came at 21. But as Steve pointed out, there was a popular musical hit that went 21 today, 21 today, he's got the key of the door, never been 21 before, etc., etc. So it was a thing. It was definitely a thing.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Being a fan of the show, when I'm not very occasionally on it, I enjoy listening to the podcast.
Yeah, right.
And I was listening to you last weekend talk about tabloid terminology.
Oh, yes.
The different phrases that the tabloids use. I saw one this week that was in the coverage of the Lionesses win. Ella Toone is from Wigan.
Oh, yeah.
And her local paper said Ella Toone makes shock visit to pub on return home.
Oh, yes, shock visit. Shock visit.
And shock
good.
visit is a very tabloid
Everybody
phrase.
I'd call a band shock visit.
Everyone that walks into a pub, for most of the people in the pub, that's a shock visit. It's only that one or two people who think, well, we're meeting old Tuno at the pub tonight.
Yeah.
But it's also the logical place. If she's going home to celebrate a magnificent
She's going
victory, the
home.
pub is a logical place.
Yes.
It'd be a shock visit if she turned up at the dry cleaners.
Yeah. That'd be a shock visit.
Yes.
I wonder if they're going to do any sort of golden post boxes for the Lionesses.
I beg your pardon?
Do you remember the...
Oh!
for the athletes, Olympic athletes used to get a golden post box in their local area. And presumably there'll be some honours list things for them as well.
Oh, let's hope so. Surely Leah's going to get one. Ruth Jordan has been in touch. Not read over a shoulder. Remember we were talking...
Yeah, reading notes
remember?
over shoulders, yeah.
Not read over a shoulder, but I once got a big advantage in a job interview because the waiting room was next to the interview room and I could hear through the wall the previous person's entire interview, plus the discussion of all their mistakes after they'd left the room. I got the job.
Wow.
Come on.
That is... Would you want to work anywhere where the walls were that thin? That was a company that was on... could go down at any time.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
So last week, it's 2 weeks ago, in fact, you'd been discussing what the best underwater remake of an existing thing.
Things that normally are on dry land but get done underwater, like chess was my example.
Yes. And Matthew Richardson has tweeted the show saying underwater hockey apparently is a thing, or it's also known as octopush.
Wow.
Sorry, is that based on Sean Connery trying to say half of the film Roger Moore was in?
Very fine. Or is it someone coaching a octopus giving birth?
I mean, that would be quite a sight for sore eyes.
Well, wouldn't it though, eh? Which legs are you going to open?
Do you like octopi?
No.
That's the best response.
I don't
to
think
that
that's
question.
disgusting.
I don't need to know.
They're really the most vile-looking creatures I've ever seen in my life. Anyway,
you can't leave me anyway. No, disgusting.
there's nothing about them that I like. Their eyes are in like the wrong place, and the soccer things, ink. I mean, what's going on? Ink. Who takes ink out as a defence? I mean,
Your dad.
Who's
that's
Charles
all.
Dickens being attacked? God.
Frank.
And also distinguish yourself from a squid. I have no idea which is which. It's like when you're doing shopping at the supermarket. Put the separator there so we know where the squid ends and the octopus.
Where are the
begins.
eyes, Frank? Are they on the top of the head?
Where are they indeed? And that sort of pointed, it's like a beak they've got. So disgusting. They've got like a pointed opening beak thing.
Have they?
Yeah, they look so they could hold a sheet of newspaper or something if they needed to.
It's the
Maybe a
animal-
note if it was an octopus football match.
The animal kingdom is being taken down. You did pine martins the other week.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
nothing against pine martins, but oh man,
I tell you what, I'm not overly fond of anything in the sea.
really?
Yeah. Do you know what? I've never seen eye to eye with these people. Whenever I go in there, I
a
just,
different world,
you know
isn't
what I think? You're all right. You can have it.
Yeah.
You're welcome to your aquatic adventures.
It's exactly the sort of approach that Aquaman and Prince Namor are looking for from us landlobbers.
But Frank, they've always got weird eyes.
They got all the deeper you get, the worse they get. That's right. Because there's
What about the teeth?
there's no mirrors down there. Clearly,
Would it kill them to clean their teeth? Have you seen the teeth on these things?
I don't even want to
Be a
think
spin-off
about.
for Queer Eye. We'll get Queer Eye onto the underwater
I
kingdom.
saw a fish. I mean, not in real life, because I would never have gone down that deep, because I know what they look like
No.
down there. Massive mouth with these disgusting teeth.
Exactly. Get
And one eye.
Get a bit closer. You know the aquapoise lampfishes that have that. Get a bit closer to one of them and have a look at yourself.
This is blobfish shaming.
Stay down there. Fine, it's dark. If you're going to come up, phone the aquapoise fish and just say, how do I look? Does my beak look big in this? Says the octopus. Anyway, I don't think we saw that conversation coming. Thank you for listening to us this morning, Steve. It's great to see you,
Thank you.
as ever.
You too.
And if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back. Well, I hope the creeks don't rise with those monsters in it. We'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.